It was supposed to be a simple weekend getaway. A family of 4, a rented SUV, a stretch of desert sky, too big for trouble. The Maddox family had arrived at the Grand Canyon South Rim on April 15th, 2011, 2 adults, 2 kids, a dog named Ranger, and 3 days of prepaid campground permits at Desert View. They were never seen again. They'd left their home in Mesquite, Nevada just after sunrise that Friday. There was nothing unusual about the day. Gas receipts, a fast food stop logged at 9:42 a.m., and 2 Instagram photos from a roadside lookout near Marble Canyon. The last post came at 11:17 a.m. It was a photo of their daughter, Clara, age 9, climbing onto a sun-bleached boulder with one arm raised in victory. The caption, written by her mother, read, "Can't believe how much they're growing. Just look at her. Day 1, here we go." That photo, frozen in time, would become the last verified evidence that the Maddoxes ever existed outside the canyon. They never checked in at the ranger station. They never returned the rental car. They never called home. By Monday morning, when Ben Maddox's boss reported him absent for work, the family was already 48 hours gone, and the canyon had said nothing. Search and rescue teams were dispatched by Tuesday morning. The SUV was found within hours, parked neatly just past Navajo Point, off a gravel pull-off trail only locals usually use. All 4 doors were locked. No signs of struggle. No damage. No broken glass. No blood. Nothing missing from the vehicle. Inside, a nearly full water cooler, 2 camping stoves, a child's pink backpack, a camcorder with no SD card, and a cooler still humming softly from the back seat. It looked like they had just stepped away for a short hike, maybe 15 minutes. But they didn't return, and they didn't leave a single footprint. Rangers called in additional units. Helicopters scanned the area. Dogs were brought in, but they found no trace of the Maddox family. No shoe prints, no scent trail, no discarded items along the rim or trails. Not even the family dog, Ranger, was ever recovered. That week, Clara Maddox's photo, the one from the boulder, circulated national headlines. Family vanishes in National Park. Last photo before they disappeared. Grand Canyon mystery baffles investigators. But as the weeks passed, the story slipped away. There was no ransom, no suicide note, no indication of domestic issues or financial stress. They were simply gone. The case was quietly shelved by October that year. Official cause, unresolved disappearance. Presumed lost. Unofficially, even seasoned rangers whispered a different theory. The canyon kept them. But something strange happened the following spring. On May 9th, 2012, 13 months after Maddox family vanished, a park visitor from Wisconsin reported hearing a child crying deep inside the Redwall drainage zone, where no known trails existed. She claimed it sounded like a girl repeating the same word. Wait! By the time rangers arrived, the sound had stopped. There were no children in the area. The sighting was dismissed as dehydration-induced confusion, but some rangers didn't agree, especially one, Ranger Lyle Jennings, who wrote the following in an internal log. Same zone where Maddox vehicle was recovered. Unmarked trail entrance nearby. GPS interference reported by 3 patrol units in the last year. Worth investigating. That entry was marked with a red X, and the page was missing from the official Ranger records by 2014. The Maddox case became legend. Another ghost story added to canyon campfire lore. People claimed to see a child silhouette on ledges. Others claimed to hear the barking of a dog where none had ever lived. But nothing stuck until August 19, 2024. 13 years after Maddox family vanished, 3 hikers, young, experienced, and off-grid for over a week, emerged from an unmarked canyon with something none of the rangers expected. A bone. Human. Small. Clutched in the jaws of a half-buried backpack, wrapped in canvas that didn't match any modern camping gear. Inside that same bag, a faded photograph, a notebook, and a dog collar with the tag, Ranger. The hikers had no idea what they'd found, but one of them, a geology student from Tucson, took a photo of a notebook's cover and posted it to Reddit with the caption, "Is this some kind of old trail journal? Found in an abandoned rock shelter 20 miles east of the rim." The post blew up. Within 24 hours, a user cross-referenced a name on the first page of the journal to the 2011 disappearance. That name? Ben Maddox. The canyon didn't speak for 13 years. And now it was whispering again. But the truth? The truth wasn't what anyone expected. Because when authorities returned to the location described by the hikers, they didn't just find evidence of a lost family. They found something else. Something built. Something deliberate. Something not meant to be uncovered. And one question hung heavier than the heat above the red rocks. Why had the canyon stayed quiet until now? On the surface, it looked ordinary. The cover was worn, soft canvas stretched over cardboard, dust-stained, frayed at the corners. No brand logo, just a faded ink stamp that had mostly rubbed away. The kind of notebook you'd find at any hardware store in 2011. But when the Arizona Rangers opened it, the first page told them exactly what they were holding. In blue ballpoint pen, written neatly and centered. Ben Maddox, April 15th, 2011, Grand Canyon Journal. This time, I'll keep track of everything. It was the first real trace of Ben, husband, father, amateur rockhound, in over a decade. Until now. No one had known what happened after he and his family stepped out of their SUV and walked toward the edge of the trail that Friday afternoon. But now, Ben was telling them himself. The journal was turned over to the NPS archives in Flagstaff under case reference #11 CGMAD. But a scanned version was leaked within days, posted by someone on the inside. Thousands of people read it that first week. But few understood what they were reading, because it wasn't just a record of hikes and trailheads. It was a story of a man watching his family unravel. Entry 1, April 15th, 2011, 12:38 p.m. We parked just past the Navajo Point overlook. Felt too crowded at the main trailhead. Elena agreed, so we'd find something quieter eastward. Kids are fidgety, but excited. Clara keeps asking about fossils. Michael is dragging his feet. Still mad we took his Game Boy. First impression. It's quieter here than I expected. No birds. No wind. Just heat and that big, yawning silence. Feels like we're being watched. Elena laughed when I said that, but I wasn't joking. That entry set the tone. Ben was observant, but not prone to panic. A quiet man, military background, practical thinker. And as the entries went on, the tone began to shift, from curiosity to concern, from concern to dread. Entry 3, April 15th, 2011, 6:22 p.m. We found a semi-cleared alcove off a narrow trail I don't remember seeing on the map. Elena said we might be the first ones to camp here. There are stacked stones near the rock wall, not cairns, just placed deliberately, 5 of them in a line with a spiral scratched into one. Elena thought it was native. I'm not sure. Looks too recent. No lichen. Clara asked if it was a game. Michael said, it's a trail marker. Then he changed the subject. He hasn't said much since we stopped. There were 19 entries total. The last one was never finished. By entry 7, Ben's handwriting had changed. Less neat, more rushed. He writes about a sound. At first, It's described as a whistle, then a wail, then something worse. It sounds like someone blowing across a bottle, only deeper, slower. It starts every night around the same time, 2:30 a.m. Then it stops. I thought it was wind, but last night I stood up and held out my hand. There was no wind. He writes that Elena didn't hear it first. Then one night she woke him and said, "Did you just say something?" He hadn't. In entry 11, Ben starts drawing. Maps, sketches, symbols on rocks. He marks a trail, not on any NPS map, that leads down through what he calls a wound. A split in the canyon wall they found after following the sound one afternoon. The rocks here feel different, hollow underfoot, like walking over a mouth. He writes that Clara said she saw someone standing in the shade, but when they looked, no one was there. By entry 13, things have escalated. Elena wants to leave. She says the dog won't stop pacing, keeps sniffing the rocks by the spiral, growls, then hides behind the kids. But every time we try to pack up, something goes wrong. Compass doesn't work. Watch stopped. Michael had a fever last night, 103, then normal by morning. Last night, I swear someone moved the cooler 6 feet. No tracks, just dragged. Then entry 14. The page is wet. Stain. The ink is smeared, but parts are still legible. There was singing last night. Soft. A woman's voice. Not Elena. Michael walked out of the tent. Said someone was calling his name. We found him sitting on the rock near the spiral, eyes open, smiling, just whispering, "It's fine now." Elena demanded they leave the next morning. They tried, but Ben writes, "We can't find the trail back. It's gone. I know what direction we came from. I marked it, but when we hiked back this morning, it wasn't there. Just more rocks, more spirals. Elena's bleeding. Small cut. Says a stone scraped her in the night. But the stone doesn't have edges." The final full entry is dated April 19th. We've been in the same loop for 2 days. The sun rises in the wrong place. Elena agrees now. Something's wrong. I found the camcorder smashed. Clara says the man in the cave didn't like it. We haven't seen anyone. But something is here. Something is listening. The last page contains only a sentence. Half written. The pen had dragged off the page mid-word. "If anyone finds this, tell them we didn't get lost. We were..." And then nothing. Just blank. As if the sentence had been cut off. Rangers compared the journal to Ben Maddox's previous writing samples. It was real, authentic. The ink, the paper, even the dust composition all matched the time period. No forgeries. No hoax. But the bigger mystery remained. Where were the bodies? When the hikers led authorities back to the alcove, things got stranger. The trail they described no longer existed. The terrain was similar, but the opening they'd entered through was gone. Instead, they found a stone wall recently collapsed. And behind it, a shallow rock shelter with blackened stone and the remains of a small campfire, buried beneath the ash, a rusted pan, half-melted flashlight, a beaded hair tie, and what appeared to be the Maddox family dog's collar. The bones had been scattered, but one femur, small child size, had been stuck between rocks. The DNA confirmed it. Clara Maddox. She had died not long after the disappearance, possibly 2 to 3 days later. But that wasn't the most disturbing part. On the wall inside the alcove, scratched into the stone, was a message. "He's still looking." Written in what appeared to be Ben Maddox's handwriting. Ranger Laura McBride didn't believe in stories. She believed in maps, and boots on ground, and hours logged. She'd spent 11 years working deep backcountry in the Grand Canyon. first as a trainee, then senior rescue liaison. Her pack never left her truck. Her tent had weathered 2 monsoons and 1 flash flood. When the Maddox journal was recovered, Laura volunteered first. "Let me walk it," she said. "Alone." That's how he did it. If something's there, I'll find it. It wasn't bravado. It was method. Laura set out on September 3rd, 2024, from the same gravel pull-off where the Maddox family SUV had been found 13 years earlier. The sun was high. The GPS tracker pinged normal. One drone team followed her movement remotely. Standard procedure. She took a body cam, thermal scanner, and her own printed copy of Ben Maddox's notebook. On her hand, in marker, return. Before. Dark. But by 6:42 p.m., she hadn't returned. Round pushpin 7:15 p.m., drone log entry. Last known location, 3.2 miles east of Navajo Point, near an unmapped wash. Last radio transmission. Still tracking the spiral. Found 2 more. They're fresh. Doesn't make sense. Trying to backtrack. Ridge lines different now. Trails not matching. Wait. Hold on. Static. Then silence. The drone lost her. Live GPS froze. Coordinates stuttered, then looped, showing her location behind where she had started. Search teams mobilized within 90 minutes. They found her pack, then her notebook, then her body cam, face down, still recording. But not Laura. She was gone. The footage showed 43 minutes of her descent. Stable, calm, methodical. She narrates aloud for clarity. Following cairns not marked on any 2023 trail chart. Spiral symbol carved on granite face. Appears shallow. Dust-free. Recent. Compass needles jittery. No cell signal. Sat beacon pulsing green. At timestamp 42:11, she turns the camera to her own face. Sweating. Calm. Unblinking. I think I found the wound. There's a light ahead. She walks 5 more steps, then stops. Her eyes flick sideways. She whispers, "You're not supposed to be here." Then the camera drops. Teams search through the night. They never found her, but where her voice had last been recorded, carved into the canyon wall, was a familiar symbol, the spiral, with a new line added, a diagonal slash, and one word below it. Wait. Lara's disappearance sent shockwaves through the department. It was the first time a ranger had gone missing while investigating the Maddox Trail. Official reports labeled it environmental disorientation. Unofficially, teams began calling it the Spiral Path. The park was never closed, but a 5-mile radius around the unmarked canyon was designated a sensitive zone. Maps were edited, trails rerouted, no public notice given. But in archived ranger memos, one section appears again and again. Yes, Z Watch Point, Escalante Spiral Zone. No known explanation was ever provided for what Yes Z meant, but older rangers recognized the phrase. It dated back decades. A retired ranger, Harold Tilson, came forward anonymously to local press. He had worked South Rim Patrol from 1977 to 1991. He remembered the spiral. We found them sometimes. Never marked on charts. Always near dry washes or wind-cut alcoves. We just figured kids carved them, until we found one inside a sealed shaft from the 1930s. The stone had no foot access, no ledges, no way to carve unless you were suspended or already down there. That one, it had initials. WA 1935. More reports came forward. 1988. Hiker found clutching a spiral-shaped rock. Nonverbal. Never recovered speech. 1996. Journal found beneath Horseshoe Mesa. Contained page after page of spirals, all bleeding into one another. 2004. Lost girl case. Briefly located via helicopter. Spiral traced into dirt beside her. When team arrived 12 minutes later, she was gone. All dismissed, all forgotten. Until now, back on Reddit, theories exploded. The journal leak, Lara's disappearance, the spiral pattern. It all spread like wildfire. Some called it folklore. others conspiracy. One comment, buried under 900 replies, stood out. My uncle was a CCC laborer in the 30s, so they were paid extra to brick off certain caves. Told never to ask what was inside. Said some of the old trails weren't meant to be walked. Said one day they found a pile of stacked stones with something beneath it. He never said what. He just stopped sleeping right after. Meanwhile, Rachel Blake, sister of another canyon disappearance, posted a rare update. She'd hiked to the spiral site herself, alone, and found something odd. A new symbol, not a spiral, but a circle with 5 hash marks below it. Beside it, etched in stone. There are more. Ranger Laura McBride's body was never recovered. Her radio cut off at 7:15 p.m., her voice reduced to static. The body cam footage stopped 43 minutes into her hike, just after she whispered, "You're not supposed to be here." Then the camera fell. By morning, her gear had been recovered, camera, GPS, pack. But Laura herself had vanished, and the only thing left behind, carved freshly into the rock just above her last coordinates, was the spiral, with a slash through the center. And below it, wait, just 5 letters, all uppercase, deep, uneven, not made with a blade, made with panic or purpose. A week later, a minor landslide occurred 3 miles east of her last known location. Unremarkable on its own, until a team clearing debris uncovered something behind the collapse. Bricks, laid in uniform pattern, mortared clean, hand-worked, flat-faced sandstone brickwork, clearly man-made and clearly old. A 12-foot wall, partially buried in earth. No door, no sign, just one brick near the bottom, scorched darker than the others, with a single mark etched into the mortar. CCC 1936. The Civilian Conservation Corps ran hundreds of sealed shaft projects in the 1930s. Some were mine shafts. Others were rescue tunnels, cave-ins, or unexplained cavities. But this one wasn't in any log, not in park archives, not in Arizona geological surveys, not in CCC project blueprints. And when drone lights were shined through a break in the top corner, they saw it, a hollow space behind the wall, and something inside that glinted. Approval to excavate the site was initially denied. The official reasoning, structural instability. But off the record, 2 rangers heard something stranger. The location's not sanctioned. It shouldn't be mapped. Let it stay buried. That phrase, "let it stay buried," came from an email dated October 17th, traced to a private server linked to a now-retired park superintendent. The man declined interviews. But in 2003, he'd been involved in an unsolved case from the same area. The Lions' disappearance. 3 hikers who vanished mid-recording on a film project near Escalante Drainage. Their last audio file included a child's voice singing, "You are my sunshine," and then, "Don't move, he's watching." But this time, public pressure mounted too quickly. The Maddox journal had leaked. The Reddit forums had exploded. And someone no one knows who posted a GPS coordinate tied to the brick site with a chilling caption. They didn't vanish. They were sealed. That post reached over 2 million views in 2 days. And finally, under pressure from Congress, the excavation was approved. On October 23rd, 2024, a team of 3 entered the site. 1 archaeologist, 1 cave system specialist, 1 NPS cultural preservation officer. They brought LED lamps, air quality testers, and high-res LiDAR scanning tools. The cave was just 40 feet long, 10 feet high, narrow, dry, silent. Inside, a decaying canvas tarp, burned matchsticks, a child's melted toy dinosaur, a rusted pot, scrawls on the walls, faint, shaky but deliberate, and 1 name carved clearly, Clara Maddox, Age 9. She had died 13 years earlier. Her remains, partial femur and dental match, had already been found in a ravine 18 miles west. Her death wasn't in question, but her carving was, because mineral analysis of the scratch layer confirmed etching occurred no later than 2013. That's 2 years after her death, in a space sealed in 1936, and untouched until now. Dr. Elena Perez, who led the entry team, described it this way. It wasn't vandalism. It wasn't planted. The depth of the etchings, the natural sediment accumulation, the atmospheric exposure, all of it suggests they've been here for a decade at least. But the wall had been sealed for nearly 90 years. So how did Clara Maddox, a child who died in 2011, carve her name into a stone behind a wall no one had breached since FDR was president? The deeper they looked, the worse it got. Inside the small chamber, someone had scratched spirals. Not just one. Dozens. Some crude, others careful. All slashed through the middle. One spiral was surrounded by 5 tally marks. And under it, we waited. He said, "Don't move." More carvings followed. "We're still here." He walked into the spiral. They watched time backwards. "The wind talks wrong. Leave him." He said, "Don't remember." "Don't remember what?" "Don't remember us." And finally, near the back wall, faint but real, "Mark, I'm still waiting." Mark Maddox, the father, never recovered. His remains never found. They searched for hours. No bones, no clothing, no electronics. Just a sealed box lodged behind a slab of fallen stone. A weather-warped crate, tied with what remained of a leather strap. Inside, 3 SD cards, a roll of undeveloped film, a journal half-soaked, and a drawing, childlike, done in green crayon. It showed a family of 4 standing beneath the canyon walls, smiling, but their feet had no shadow. Behind them, drawn in black charcoal, a circle, a spiral, a shape that looked like an eye. On the back of the page, someone had written, "If we disappear, please tell Mom I was brave." Initialed MM, Michael Maddox, age 6, vanished April 15th, 2011. When the SD cards were analyzed, only one file played. Audio only. Crackling. Wind. Distant breathing. Then a young voice, likely Clara's. "He's talking again." Then silence. Then a voice, not hers. Older. Male. Whispered. Close to the mic. The same phrase heard in the line's recording from 2003. "Don't move. He's watching." Then static. Then a final whisper. "We're part of the canyon now." They called it coincidence. The first time. Just a pattern. A discoloration on the cliff wall, barely visible from the air. But a week after the sealed cave was opened and the Clara Maddox carving was found, a drone survey team noticed something strange during a routine flyover of the southern drainage line. A symbol, traced in pale mineral streaks across a vertical canyon face. A spiral, large, almost 11 feet wide, and slashed diagonally through the middle. Same shape carved beside Ranger Lar McBride's last location. Same shape burned into the matched scarred rock where Michael Maddox's toy had been found. Only this one hadn't been there before. Footage from a 2022 flyover showed nothing. The cliff had been bare, just vertical streaks, wind-washed lichen and long shadows. But now, the spiral had appeared. Perfect, too deliberate, too recent. The Park Service brushed it off. Natural erosion pattern. But an independent contractor, a former cartographer with LiDAR access, ran a deeper scan of the region. His name was Jacob Hale. He'd worked with USGS before moving to private contracts. He knew the canyon skin better than most, and what he found changed the entire shape of the mystery. Because the new spiral wasn't alone. He overlaid 4 layers of scan data: elevation, mineral reflection, GPS pathing, and shadow decay. And when he adjusted for a sunlight angle across a 5-year span, 4 more spirals revealed themselves, faint, hidden in erosion trails and collapse zones, but all the same shape, and when placed on a map, they formed a perfect 5-point arc. At the center of the arc was nothing, or rather, used to be nothing, because when Jacob compared the spiral locations to pre-1960 topographical maps, he saw something older, a trail removed from modern maps sometime after 1984. He followed it eastward and found a handwritten marking on a declassified CCC trail index. Red line, closed, do not clear, field pattern present. Spiral X5. No explanation, no legend, but beneath it, a faint signature. R. C. Barnes, Site Chief, 1937. The name had appeared once before, on a weathered ledger in a Utah mining archive. Same man, same year, same warning. Jacob's post went viral in hours. His map, the spiral overlay, the 5-point arc, all of it spread through forums like wildfire. He didn't make claims. He just asked a question. Why would the canyon erase a trail surrounded by this many vanishing points? Journalists reached out. So did private researchers. Some offered cash for the GPS files. Others told him to stop. One email, traced to a suspended Bureau of Land Management account, said, "You are mapping things meant to be forgotten." And another, and signed, came in 2 words only, "Seal it again." But Jacob didn't stop. He did what others were too afraid to do. He flew to Flagstaff, entered the park, and followed the 5th spiral's arc on foot. He never made it to the final point, but he got close. His body cam, streamed live to his cloud account, showed his descent along a crumbling ridgeline east of the Palisades. He's quiet, focused, reads off coordinates every 20 minutes. Then around timestamp 3:02 p.m., he stops, breathes sharply, points the camera up. Carved into the canyon wall, just above an ancient wash, is a spiral, smaller than the others, newer, still sharp, but this one is inverted. It curls outward, not inward, and it's not slashed. It's marked with 5 vertical lines beneath it, and 1 word scratched beside, "Open." Jacob says nothing, just whispers, "It's here," and drops to one knee. Then the audio distorts, not fully static. Something worse, a looping flutter, like wind, but deliberate, not like any natural canyon breeze. Almost rhythmic, like breath. The video cuts out at 3:08 p.m. The last frame, Jacob backing away, eyes wide, mouth open, not screaming, just watching. His phone pings one final location at 3:12 p.m., then nothing. Search teams found his pack 2 days later, propped neatly beside a dry boulder. Inside, his notebook, water bottle, and a folded piece of paper, a sketch of the 5 spirals, and a phrase written in jagged letters. He doesn't live here. He waits here. No sign of Jacob has ever been found. On Reddit, theories exploded again. The 5-spiral map was renamed the Maddox Sigil, and people began pointing out something chilling. All 5 spirals, the entire arc, roughly outlined the search radius of Clara Maddox's voice recording from the SD card, the one that said, "He's talking again," followed by the male whisper, "Don't move." The whispers had appeared before. 2003, Lion's disappearance audio. "Don't move. He's watching." 2011 Maddox SD card. Don't move. 2024 Clara's cave wall. He said, don't remember. 2024 body cam audio, Laura McBride. You're not supposed to be here. 2024 Perez's voice process loop from the box. We're part of the canyon now. All different voices, but all felt like the same speaker. Same rhythm, same presence. A retired CCC worker, 96 years old, came forward to a local Arizona historian. His name, Eugene Wallace. He spoke slowly, haltingly, but remembered the spirals. They were in the rock. Some said it was kids, but they weren't fresh. They were under the sandstone layers. He said his team was paid extra to wall off 3 shafts. No questions, told not to leave markings. No dynamite, only bricks. And on the final day, their foreman left a note nailed to a pine post. Some places don't forget. Back at the park, a maintenance worker hiking alone in the exclusion zone found a rock balanced in the center of a dry stream bed. 6 stones, stacked high, each one carved with a small spiral. Only the top one was different. It had a name, etched in trembling script, marked Maddox. The trail didn't exist anymore. Not officially. It hadn't been marked since 1984. But when Dr. Remy Carter overlaid pre-war CCC maps with the spiral arc, one line stood out, a faint red trail hand-drawn that cut across 5 points of terrain no longer listed on park maps. They called it the Red Path. It led from forgotten, overlook east a horseshoe, mesa down into the ravine where Clara Maddox's carving had been found. The line passed all 5 spirals, and then ended in blank space. Dr. Carter wasn't a conspiracy theorist. He was an anthropologist, taught folklore at Berkeley, wrote his dissertation on trail systems and indigenous myth in North American stone labyrinths. The spirals intrigued him, not because they were spooky, but because they were repeating, appearing in regions historically associated with boundary markers, burial wards, curses. He didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed something had happened to the Maddox family, and the spiral meant something. So he formed a team, 2 grad students, 1 private trail guide, 1 objective, follow the erase path, document what's left, map what they find, come back. Only one of them did. They entered the exclusion zone at 6:08 a.m. on November 2nd, 2024. No permits, no ranger support. They were dressed like day hikers, blended into a small group tour, then slipped away past the ridgeline. Their plan, 6 days off-grid. They carried 4 GPS trackers. Only 1 remained active past day 4. The first 3 days went well. Photos were taken. Audio logs recorded. No anomalies. Then day 4. Their guide, Renee Holloway, 31, described it later from a hospital bed, hands trembling even after sedation. We found the 5th spiral around midday, carved onto a vertical slab, maybe 10 feet across, still sharp, like it had been etched this week. She says they stopped to eat. Dr. Carter walked ahead to survey the ridge. He never came back. They searched for 3 hours, shouted, fired their flare. No answer. Then around 3:17 p.m., Renee says they heard a whisper, "Stay where you are." She thought it was Carter, but the voice wasn't quite right. Too slow, too close, even though it came from the rocks above. Then came the laugh. Not loud, not human, like air pushed through broken teeth. The other grad student, Paul, panicked, ran toward the sound. Renee followed, but when she reached the ridge, Paul was gone. No prints, no trail, just his camera, shattered, and a cairn built beside it. 6 stones, topped with a black spiral. Slashed twice. Renee didn't sleep that night. She crawled beneath the tarp and listened. To the wind that wasn't wind. To the shuffling gravel that never reached her. To something pacing in a perfect circle. The next morning, she found a carving on the rock beside her. Fresh. Wet. Don't leave yet. She ran. By some miracle, she found her way back to the South Kaibab Trail by nightfall. Rangers found her collapsed near the trailhead, dehydrated, blistered, sunburned. She couldn't speak for a day. When she finally could, she said just one thing: "He's still watching me." Doctors wrote it off as trauma, dehydration, exposure, delusion, until her phone started ringing. Blocked number, no voicemail, just static, always at 3:12 a.m. The 6th time it rang, she answered. A voice whispered back, "Male, calm, close, don't move, he's almost there." She threw the phone away, smashed it. 2 nights later, her new phone rang at the exact same time. No one had the number. She didn't answer, but the voicemail recorded itself. One line, "Come back to the trail." The Carter expedition was declared a tragedy, an unfortunate accident, but no bodies were ever found. Only Renee's testimony, and a photo, one she didn't remember taking, found buried in her backup folder when her phone auto-synced. It showed 3 people standing on a ridge, backs to the camera. 2 were clearly Paul and Dr. Carter. The third, taller, not wearing a pack, arms too long, no visible face, but a hand resting on Paul's shoulder. In the background, the 5th spiral, inverted, lit from behind, though no sun shone from that angle. She deleted the photo. It came back, twice, then appeared on her laptop, which had been offline, then printed itself from her home printer at 3:12 a.m. She moved cities, changed numbers, stopped sleeping, and when asked what she thinks the spirals are, she said, "They're not warnings, they're coordinates, entrances." Then, after a long pause, "Or exits. The red path is still not on any public map. But since November 2024, for more spirals have been reported. Faint, recent, etched onto rocks near unmarked paths. One appeared on a canyon wall where sunlight never reaches. Its slash has 3 lines, not 1, and one drone pilot captured a strange signal echo when flying over it, a repeat of a phrase heard before. "Don't move, he's watching." Followed by something new, something only heard once, and only clearly when reversed. It whispered, "He doesn't forget names." The canyon was quiet again. No new spirals, no new footage, no more missing hikers. For a time, it was almost as if it had closed its eyes, held its breath, and waited. But grief doesn't sleep forever, and neither do questions. In March 2025, almost 14 years since the Maddox family vanished, Rachel Maddox, Elena's sister, returned to the South Rim. She had spent years avoiding it. She'd stayed off the forums, ignored the Reddit theories, even blocked out the journal, the entries her brother-in-law had written before vanishing into silence. But after the discovery of the spiral arc, after hearing that her niece's name was found carved inside a bricked-off shaft, something broke open inside her, and she came back, not to investigate, not to find, just to listen. She arrived alone. No camera crew, no gear, just a day pack, and a folded copy of Clara's drawing, the one found in the sealed crate, with a smiling family beneath the canyon walls. She had laminated it, kept it in her nightstand. The green crayon still shone in the light. But what haunted her most wasn't the drawing. It was a note on the back. "If we disappear, please tell Mom I was brave. MM." She followed the red path as far as she could. Even without maps, the land remembered. The cairns were still there. Small, stacked, still whispering. The fifth spiral had faded from the wall, almost. Its outer lines had softened, but the center, that impossible, curling shape, was still etched deep. She touched it. It was cold, then warm, like breath. Rachel sat beneath the spiral and waited. She didn't speak for hours. She didn't write. She didn't cry. She just listened. And as twilight bled across the cliffs, something changed. A wind moved upward. The air thinned, but didn't move like weather. It pressed gently. Then came the sound. Not a voice, not wind, not quite a song. More like a child's humming. She followed it, not far, just around the bend, beneath an overhang of shattered redstone. There, resting gently in the dust, was something new, a notebook, unburned, unmarked, but inside a single entry, handwritten, shaky, signed, March 7th, 2025. If you're reading this, then I didn't come back. That's okay. That's not why I came. I don't know if the spiral is a door or a grave or a question, but I think it remembers us. I think it keeps what we forget. And if that's true, then I want them to remember we tried. We stayed together. We waited. We stayed brave. Elena sang. Michael told stories. Clara drew spirals in the dirt and said they were stars. And I watched the sun rise to the same crack in the rocks every morning and prayed it was the last. But if it wasn't, then maybe we were meant to be more than found. Maybe we were meant to be witness. Ben Maddox. The final page was blank, except for one smudged fingerprint in the bottom right corner. Small, like a child's. Rachel stood and looked around. No sound, no wind, no birds, just a spiral, and the faintest footprint, small, barefoot, leading into a narrow gap in the cliff. She didn't follow it. She left the notebook exactly where it was, and whispered, "You're not lost anymore." Then she turned and walked back into the sun. Round pushbin 2 months later. Rangers received a package with no return address. Inside, a USB drive, one printed photo, one note. The note read, "Don't close the cave. It's not finished speaking." The photo showed a shot of the red path from above. Only this time, something was different. In the center of the 5-point arc, the heart of the spiral pattern, a 6 symbol had appeared. Not a spiral, a circle, unbroken, empty. The audio file on the USB drive was brief, 17 seconds, but unmistakable. It was a recording of a child's voice, not echoing, not distorted, just close, clear, like standing in the same room. She said, "We're still here. He's gone now. You can come in." Yellow square epilogue. The Maddox case is still officially unsolved. No bodies confirmed except Clara's. Ben, Elena, and Michael are still listed as presumed deceased. Ranger Laura McBride is missing. Dr. Carter and Paul are missing. Renee Holloway is under long-term care. Rachel Maddox never gave another interview, but once a year, on April 15th, the day her family vanished, she sends an anonymous donation to the Grand Canyon Search and Rescue Unit. Always the same amount. Always the same note. For those still listening. And the spiral? It appears less now. Fainter. Retreating. But some say that's because it's waiting again. waiting for the next person to ask a question they shouldn't, or follow a trail that isn't there, or hear a voice that speaks without sound. The canyon doesn't scream. It doesn't echo. It doesn't beg to be found. It just waits. If this one stayed with you, tell me where in the world you're watching from, and what time the truth finally found you. And if you ever see a spiral carved into stone, don't follow it.